Hello you guys and welcome to my channel. This is intended to be the beginning of my journey on summer 2021 goals. I think that time is one of the best resources that we have, and I want to use my time the best I can. So I have come up with 4 categories of goals that I want to accomplish over the summer. And by starting this channel and updating regularly, I hope to hold myself accountable for making progress on these goals and just kind of seeing where I end up by the end of the summer. So welcome. If you are interested in keeping tabs with me on this journey, then I'm glad to have you along. If you have your own goals, maybe you would make your own goals for the summer, whatever you feel inspired to do. So I will share my categories of these goals and we'll go from there. So my 4 categories are first, physical goals, like with my physical health. Second, spiritual goals. Third is kind of a conglomeration of personal, professional goals. And then fourth is social or family goals. So we'll start with the physical goals. So this last January, I had a C-section to give birth to my daughter. And as with all childbirth, there's some healing involved with that. So I would like to continue to maybe get back to where I used to be in terms of my physical health. So I would love to, by the end of the summer, be able to run 6 miles in one shot. As I was pregnant, I was trying to stay with a 3-mile base. And I did a reasonably good job, although by the very end, by like 35, 36, 37 weeks, I think I was doing more like 2.5, or anything above 2.5 I felt really good about. So by August sometime, I would like to have 6 miles be, and I'm not saying like every day, right? But that if I wanted to go out and run 6 miles, I would feel pretty confident about feeling pretty good. So that's one of my physical goals. Second is to get up to the speed 7.5 on the treadmill. So I kind of do a combination of outside running and treadmill running. Treadmill running is essentially more for speed because it's not as enjoyable to me as outside running. So outside running is really for distance, and treadmill running is more for speed, practicing on that. So I remember when I had just barely was recovering. Gosh, I didn't exercise for like maybe 2 months or something like that after the C-section. And when I did try to start running, like I started walking first, and then I tried getting up to like 4.5 speed, and that was not great. So I went down to 4. But generally how I do a treadmill is I have 1 minute at each speed, and then I change the speed. Now, how I change the speed is variable. Sometimes I tick up one tick at a time per minute, right? So like 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, that kind of thing. Other times I do much more of a jump. So whatever it is that I feel like doing, like maybe I would do 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, or something like that. I've also done kind of like a stair step thing where I've gone like 4.5, 4.7, 4.6, 4.8, 4.7, 4.9, that kind of thing. So I would like to get to the point where I get up to the 7.5 speed. So maybe I would start at like 6.0 and then work my way up to 7.5 and then back down to 6.0. So that would be something that I'd like to work on for the summer, is my stamina for those higher speeds. I would also like to do some weight training 2 to 3 times a week, and maybe alternate the types of muscle groups that I'm working on, as well as the types of exercises that I'm doing for weight training. So I would love to do that 2 or 3 times per week. All told, altogether, I don't necessarily want to lose weight, but I would like to maybe have the consequence of all this work be that I maybe lose an inch off of my hips, or just to tighten up my abdominal area. So I'm not going to put necessarily that itself as a goal, but I would love that would be a hoped for consequence, let's say. And my overall view of this is not to get to like a certain size or a certain physique necessarily, so much as to maintain my health and to be in a reasonably good shape, right? So that's what I'm hoping for. So those are my physical goals for the summer. And I will post updates as to the specifics of where I'm at and how I'm doing and that kind of thing. So the second category is spiritual goals, and the first of these is that I would love to do family history for a couple hours every week, especially because this is over the summer. I have a lot more time. I used to do this pretty regularly, but in the past couple of years I've kind of dropped off doing it as often. So I would like to reintegrate that into some of my weekly pattern. I also would like to read all of the conference talks that have been delivered in the April 2021 address on churchofjesuschrist.org. So there are a lot of wonderful discourses that were given again in April 2021, and so I want to be able to read all of those this summer, and just as a part of my spiritual studies. And in addition to my regular scripture study, I would like to read at least 3 scriptures about the Savior per day. So I know that that's not very much, but it doesn't have to be a lot. But I would like to take some time to kind of get that anchored in my mind and in my heart each day. So there's that. For my personal/professional goals, I need to learn a video recording software called Panopto for work. So that's one of my goals, is to become familiar with that program and be able to use it effectively. I teach online, so I do a lot of video recording, and it's a key part of how I interact with my students and delivering content to them. So I would like to be well versed in that as a skill. I would also like to do at least 1 hour of work-related preparation per day, and learning this Panopto program is certainly part of that, so that by the end of the summer, my classes are ready to go. I would love to just be very prepared in that regard. Other personal goals are, one is, this might sound kind of funny, but to not complain as much. Sometimes, when things happen during the day that aren't my favorite thing, sometimes it's my sense of humor that I'll kind of complain a little bit, but I'd like to even get away from doing that as much. I'd like to just try to be not like overly positive, but just to take things in stride, right? And not to grumble about things. So that might take, I don't know how I'm going to measure that. Maybe just give my assessment of how I think I'm doing, or if there are times when I am tempted to complain, what I might do instead. I might share this goal with my husband, and he can help me recognize when I'm complaining so that I can stop doing it. And maybe just kind of take a different direction with my brain, right? I know things happen during the day that aren't ideal, that we don't love, and that's very normal, but I would like to take those things in more stride, right? To get over the hump of the disappointment or the annoyance or whatever and just proceed. So that's how I'd like to deal with it. The next personal goal is kind of funny. So maybe we all kind of dealt with the pandemic in different ways, but one of the things that I started doing was getting into watching YouTube videos about like makeup tutorials or reviews and things like that, and discovered there's a fairly extensive beauty community out there. And one of the things that I was really impressed by actually was the community of panners. So there will be things called like project pans, which essentially means that they want to use up product. And so like with an eyeshadow, for example, eyeshadows are pressed into a little shallow pan. And once you use the product regularly, if you're using it a lot, then you're going to be able to eventually hit pan, they say. So So I was pretty inspired by that because I like the idea of using what I have. And I'll be honest, I bought way more eyeshadow palettes this last year than I probably owned in my entire life put together. So I'm somewhere up in the range of like 12 or 14 eyeshadow palettes. And that's a lot of fun because I like playing with makeup. And, but I would like to use what I have. And one of the side effects that I've discovered about watching YouTube videos is that the term influencer is pretty accurate because I have been influenced as I've watched these different YouTubers and going over these different reviews and stuff. And I'll be honest, there are some products that I found that I really like. But I also find that when I'm watching tons and tons of them, then I'm like, oh, I want that, and oh, I want that, and I want that too. And that's not a maintainable approach in the long run. Things need to be reined in a little bit. So one of the goals that I have for this summer is that I'd love to use what I have. And to do that, I'd like to focus on maybe one eyeshadow palette per week so I can rotate through and have some fun with it, but also to use what I have. And I figure if I'm posting about it, then that would take a lot of my time and attention rather than watching other people post about theirs, if that makes sense. So one of the reasons to do, like to focus on this is to go from kind of rather passive intake of all of this material to a much more proactive, active participation in using what I have purchased. So, and I hope to be content, right? To be content with what I've purchased and get some enjoy using what I've got. So the fourth area is social or family goals. I would love, I just like, so I have a brand new baby daughter. She's almost 4 months old, and I'd love to do a family adventure every week with her. It's so easy to stay home with a brand new baby because it takes so much work to get out. And then there are all those things that you have to consider. Is the baby going to be hungry? We need to make sure we bring a change of diapers and a change of clothing and like all of these different things. And what is the baby's stamina for being out and about and that kind of thing. So, but I don't want to let that be a deterrent for introducing her to some wonderful things. So I'd love to see how this goes, whether it's like a trip to the splash pad or a trip to a park or a trip to the library. And that might seem for you parents that are very experienced to be maybe rather timid goals or kind of lame or whatever. But I think I do need a little extra push. It does need to be a goal for me to kind of get out there and to take her with. And I hope that we'll have some fun things that we do this summer, both for my husband and me, but also for our little baby as we introduce her to fun things like swimming pools and stuff like that. So that's one of my family goals. Another social goal is to make sure that I go to my congregational activities, my ward activities. With the pandemic, we just moved to a new place, like out of the state in the middle of the pandemic. And it has taken, I mean, it's getting better and better, but it's taken a while to get to know people. And especially as we were in a season of everybody still wearing masks and stuff, it's just hard to recognize people and to really get to know them with social distancing and all of that stuff. It has been a much more drawn out process to get to know people. And it's easy to fall into hermit-like tendencies where it's like, well, I don't need to go out and I don't need to go do this thing and I don't feel like it and stuff like that. So I would love to be, again, proactive about making those relationships and forming those friendships and things like that. So I have another maybe goal in here for social family that may or may not pan out. I was thinking of maybe contacting a nursing home and seeing if we could go play the piano in the common area for them, maybe like once a week or something. So that has some difficulties, of course, with the pandemic. we have to be vaccinated, and I'm only halfway there. And anyway, so they may or may not welcome that kind of thing. So I'm not sure, but that was a thought that I had, and maybe we'll see if that makes its way onto my goal list for the summer. So that's it. I hope that this is, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's been a lot even to make this initial recording, to find a time when the baby's sleeping and she's okay, so I could come and do this. So we'll see if I'm able to maintain this over the summer. But I hope to check in at least once a week, maybe more, to update about these various goals and see where I'm at by the end of the summer. So thank you for watching. If you're interested in staying with me, hit the subscribe button, and I would love to hear in the comment area about what goals you have for yourself this summer. Are there some things that are meaningful to you that you would like to just make known, to find an opportunity to share those? So I'd love to hear that from you. And we'll see you on the next one.